What defines a life well lived? Is it your passion or is it your purpose? Today's episode, we're going to be looking at the story of the Spitfire supermarine and how we can take from that what it really means to find that soft spot that allows us to truly live a life that is well balanced but at the same time has high impact. This is another episode of MoloMolo African Tech Stories. Let's go. Hi, I'm Dr. PK and welcome to another episode of MoloMolo African Tech Stories. In today's episode is quite an interesting angle. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite aircraft calling the Supermarine Spitfire, which you have it here on my wallpaper, and what lessons can we take, not just from a technical perspective, but purely actually from an intellectual but also mindset perspective of what it means to look at passion and what it means to look at purpose. Now, let me take a bit of a story, as usual, right? As most of you know, I'm an aerospace engineer. I've been very privileged that over the last 17, 18 years to be working in this industry, both in South Africa and here in Germany. But it did not start like that. It started with a dream. It started with a curiosity. The curiosity to figure out what it is like to be able to build something like this, to be able to be part of a team that through passion and the willingness to learn and the willingness to master thyself can create an amazing tapestry of engineering excellence. And that ultimately takes the curiosity beyond just an imaginary thing, but into the skies. And that's really how my passion and my willingness to learn aerospace engineering was born at the age of about, I would say, 16, 17, when I had to choose subjects in my high school. And that's essentially how this thing started. And then as I got into kind of the working world, but more probably before that, as I got into university, my passion grew even more, right? Where I was able to really see that, oh wow, there's definitely something here when it comes to things that fly. Incredibly difficult to build, of course, but it's neither here or there in terms of what we're talking about today. And passion grew, my skill grew, my ability to harness what I wanted to do and wanted to be grew. And in a way embodied the identity that I put on myself as I'm an engineer. I am someone who solves technical problems and is able to really communicate them in a way that will make decisions better, faster, or more efficient. But something else happened during that time. And that is the other side of things, where I started seeing more and more as I grew into this professional, how privileged I was. How privileged I was to having failed and overcome, to having passed and graduated, to having graduated and become a postgrad, and from a postgrad to becoming a working individual in the space that I've studied. I saw the privilege, and the privilege was shown to me through my environment, through the people that didn't have that privilege, to the people that didn't have the support system, that didn't have the tools. And all of a sudden, something happened where you start realizing that the very thing that you are blessed with is not just for personal enjoyment. It cannot be. Something else must be used for others. And that's where purpose came in terms of beyond just doing it for the sake of building something and the purpose that comes with it. And we'll get into the Spitfire, but it became so much more. And that's really where the story of the Spitfire comes in. Because as much as such an amazing aircraft, Merlin engine, amazing roar of an engine, I think there is a very famous, I actually haven't been there yet, a very famous Flugmuseum in German is airplane museum. and you get to see all of these up and close, and it's really amazing to see all of that, and to see kind of how the engineering of it, and just how people have dedicated decades to really come up with something as amazing as a Spitfire that had an amazing aerodynamic performance, less drag, more maneuverability, and an absolute ace of pilots that really flew it like a Formula One machine. But something else happened. In the Battle of Britain, in Britain 1940, where the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, was essentially gearing and attempting to raid and invade the island of Britain, both the Hurricane and the Supermarine Spitfire presented a wall. But the war was first from an engineering excellence. The war was first from just throwing something that we've built and people have been passionate about into the battlefield. But it became so much more than that. It became an emblem of resistance. And I want to read a very interesting take from a book called Spitfire, A Very British Love Story. And I'll put up a link of the book in this podcast. And I want to read an excerpt that kind of exemplifies my point. It says, "It was late summer 1940. A boy of 10 stood with his mother in a London street, the smell of smoke and brick dust still clinging after the previous night's bombing. The drones of engines rolled across the sky again. People tensed. More Luftwaffe? Then the sound changed. Higher, sharper, urgent. The boy's mother gripped his hand tighter and whispered, 'Listen, this is ours.' Through the haze above, he caught sight of them, slender shapes flashing silver in the sun, their wings arching effortlessly as they climbed to meet the German bombers. Spitfires. The dogfight began almost instantly. Trails of vapor spiraled across the blue machine guns, cracked faintly, and every head of that street tilted skyward, transfixed. For a moment, the war wasn't rubble and fear at ground level. It was those young men in their Spitfires, fighting for all of them. When one German bomber finally broke formation and wheeled away, cheers erupted as though a football goal had been scored. The boy never forgot that feeling, the sense that the Spitfire wasn't just a plane, but a shield of promise that Britain wasn't beaten yet. Years later, that boy told his grandchildren, "Every time I hear the sound of a Merlin engine, I feel safe again." That sound meant hope. And an amazing recount of how one can turn passion, how one can turn the ability to do something and hone the skill, but give it to the people. Give it to people who are in need. Give it to the people who lack the circumstance, who lack the awareness, who lack the support that you and I had in becoming professionals, in becoming leaders in our field, and give them a leg up to maybe one day fill in your shoes. The Spitfire was that during the Battle of Britain. The Spitfire till today is seen as a symbol of resilience and hope, where people were having the confidence that when the Spitfire was in the ground, they could carry on their work with the rubble below. This was an amazing recount of and that really brings me back to why. Why should one care about whether your passion and your purpose are in line? Because if they're not in line, basically what would happen is you will get fixated oftentimes about passion, which means your ability to serve oneself, the ability to become master of thyself, which is all important, which is all great, but it's missing a key factor, which is when you are doing all of that, there is someone else who's looking at you and saying, "I wish I could learn something from you." And the question is, what would you do about it? A lot of us who are in Germany, in first world countries, we're not born in opulent circumstance of safety and privilege. We had, if not us, people that we know very close to us had tough times, still have tough times. And the question is, what would you do about it? How can you turn your passion into a purpose that drives and fuels way beyond your own satisfaction, but is also leveraging a smile on someone else who couldn't either have gotten that smile in the same way? And that is MoloMolo Tech. And we want to thank you so much for everybody who believes in this mission that MoloMolo Tech is trying to bring to the world, to say we can do it. We can do it through Africans. We can do it through people who are not able to have a leg up by themselves and still serve in the high-tech industry and bring technical solutions that not only are for the privileged, but also for the non-privileged. This was another episode of MoloMolo African Tech Stories. I really hope that this was encouraging to really think about the difference between passion and purpose, as it was encouraging to me through learning and recounting the amazing stories, countless stories that the Spitfire brought to millions of people till today, of what it means to have hope and purpose, at the same time produce an absolute passion of engineering excellence. I'm Dr. PK. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, ciao.